So this is Larry Tyler, um, and I've been interviewing business people that I recommend. So we have a vision for, and Beverly Lewis is on too, by the way, most important part. So um, what I do is primarily help people and businesses navigate their kingdom purpose. So this is five ingredients that grow a business, and value creation and marketing and business culture are three more, but cash flow is right in the middle. And that's Larry's specialty. And so I just want to put this in context. The next question is exactly what is cash flow? So when you think about purpose, understanding your kingdom purpose or business purpose and, filling out your mission and purpose statement out and having that on paper as a way to navigate the direction of your life and your business and give it some kind of zing so that people know what's exciting about it. And what Larry carries is that where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So when we have a vision from, call it from God, your personal dream, whatever gives you the rocket fuel to get through life, there is always a cash flow component to it. And the definition of cash flow, just for those of you that don't know, is usually a monthly, um, you know, income and expense sheet that says whether you made any money or not that month. And it's also the ability to project out 2, 3, 5 years where you want to take your initiative, your business, or your life. And you're projecting where your dream is going. And it allows you to play the financial game with what is most precious to your heart, and that is your purpose. It's so we're understanding something about the Father's purpose. We're bringing that to earth in a business, and then we have the responsibility to manage it, and that means cash flow. And that is, we're not just waiting to run out of money and say, "Oops, I guess we're out of business." Because that's what happens. That's how every business that goes out of business goes out for one reason, and that is they ran out of cash flow. And that's why I appreciate Larry and what he brings. So I guess we already covered it, but why, Larry, why do businesses sink or fail?
They're very similar, John, to like the Titanic. It sank to the bottom. Um, the statistics from the SBA, Small Business Administration, show that 80% of the businesses fail within 10 years simply for the reason of a lack of a cash flow management system. And the Titanic did not sink because it hit an iceberg. That was the symptom. But the real root of the problem was, for the most part, was the people that were designed and specified and had a responsibility sat in the crow's nest to look out, look forward, like a cash flow forecast does for your business.
Yeah.
But they didn't have binoculars. They couldn't see very far.
Hmm.
And thus they weren't able to see the iceberg turn the ship. Another reason they thought they were too big to fail, or God was blessing them and they couldn't fail, which I see a lot of businesses do at the same time.
Yeah. So that
Pride,
Christians are
arrogance.
dangerous that way because if you start a business because you feel like, you're being led to or God wants to bless you or it's God's idea, you can also delegate the cash flow to God, and that doesn't work.
No, it really doesn't. And they failed. In other words, another thing that the cash flow forecast helps you, or managing your cash flow, is avoid the issues, avoid problems, see them coming, and then do something about it. And the Titanic, whoever was running the ship, failed to avoid the warning signs.
I think the other thing that's you helped me to understand was that everybody, even in the personal finances, there's 30 categories. In a business, there might be 50. There's not 1,000 though. And out of those, say, 20 to 40 categories of expenses, there's most of them are the same every month. It's not rocket science to see which ones change, and you're anticipating, obvious things like, market fluctuations or inflation impacts or labor cost,
Yeah.
or cost of goods and materials. There are only a handful of things that you got to really pay attention to. As I mean, what your price is for your product or service is another one. But if you pay attention to a few things, managing your cash flow is not that hard. And so setting up your accounting system and having somebody like Larry look over your shoulder at the bigger picture and see where you're going over, the next several years is genius. It makes it like business manageable.
And that's where the frustration and out of it, makes it then leave you with the freedom. What are you going to say, Beverly?
I can jump in here just because I can say that I'm a left brain person, and I don't, I've always wanted to hire a good accountant and not have to think about those things. And I appreciate you, Larry, because you make this process friendly. You actually break it down, make it simple, make it understandable. And so I guess my question that I've seen you answer very very well is, what are some simple cash rules that a business owner needs to keep in mind and follow in order to be a good steward?
Well, first one is pretty simplistic. Never run out of cash. And if you've got a runway, everybody uses a GPS system, and that's what the cash flow management system is like a GPS system. And if you make a wrong turn or you don't turn, what does the lady say? Turn around.
Recalculating.
Yeah. Another really important but very simplistic rule is cash is king. Without cash, no cash, no business. So another one, know your cash balance now. And have the system in place to give you not your bank balance, but what's the cash balance with all the checks that are out, everything that's supposed to be hitting or have hit, so you know right where you stand. Another one is know your cash balance projected 6 months down the road. In other words, you need a system in place for that. Do today's work today. You don't save all your trash in your house or save all the dishes for a month and do them once a month. Do the record keeping, the categorizing of your expenses and income today so that you know where you are. And definitely use a cash flow management system. Have projections to easily, they don't have to be detailed, they can be high level, but where are you? And where are you wanting to go? Good question.
So those are some.
What's the typical obstacle or problem that you see when you get introduced to a business that has some kind of a cash flow issue where they're asking for your help? What do you run into? What's the common failure point?
Failure to adhere to the simple rules. They want to do what's fun, and I agree with that. That's where I come into play. I take care of all this stuff they don't want to do, so they can go do what they want to do and what they're best at and have more fun. Another one, in general, they don't stop their spending habits. They're like waves. Their cash is like a wave at the beach. It comes in and goes right back out. And that's one of the major rules is never spend 100% of your cash.
Yeah.
But the habits, the mindsets are hard to overcome. The discipline of learning to take your time. And John, you talked about it a minute ago with purpose. When you link your purpose, hopefully a God-given purpose, with your activities and your expenses in your business, and they move the needle those activities and expenses move the needle to fulfillment, manifestation of that purpose, then you're in sync. The other thing is the lack of discipline, and you're spending money left and right, thinking it's for the right purpose, but generally it's not.
Yeah. So a lot of people that start a new business, often start part-time and they grow it to a place where hopefully they can be on it full-time. But so like their salary is sort of the last thing that gets paid. Talk to us about top line accounting. What's that?
Well, you're 100% right. You won't, a lot of businesses and the owners, their salary comes out like a dripping faucet. And it really should come out like a fire hose, so to speak. The owner should be paid a healthy wage, a market-based wage, or something at least where they can get by. And what ends up happening is there's a law called primacy effect, where when you see something at the first, they have a list of something, you pay attention to what comes first and you forget about what comes last. Well, on a typical income statement, guess what comes last? Mm-hmm. Net income, your salary, the owner's salary generally comes last. So if you flip that upside down, take the owner's salary out first. Yeah. And you do that, set it aside, you'll go home and you'll have peace in the family. Take your profit out first. That's what I call top line accounting. Instead of a bottom line accounting with profit and your salary at the bottom, take it out first. And that's what I call top line accounting.
Cool. So when you talk about creating a cash flow culture, what's that in your business?
Well, the culture, in my experience, is all about behaviors in the business. You as the owner are watching the behaviors. You probably have core values, you have goals, and you monitor the employees one way or another for their behaviors so that you're all hopefully on the same trip, fulfilling your God-given purpose, hopefully. And the cash flow culture is one such that the other team members understand the purpose of the business owner understands the individual purposes, and the individuals know, based on their responsibilities in the company, how what they do impacts cash flow positively or negatively. They're all connected to that in their responsibility. They all have a hand, they all have a say in it. And the more they understand where they individually impact cash flow, then that's the developing of better behavior, what I'll call a cash flow culture.
Yeah. So you're integrating the cash flow into KPI management. Is that
true?
Part of what you do? Okay. So when you think of, most businesses have an accounting function. Somebody's already doing the books when you arrive. What's your interface? What's the role, or how do you describe the relationship between the business owner, the bookkeeper, and yourself in terms of managing cash flow? How does that work?
Well, I look at it and approach it verbally and experientially as a team. Each person has their major role in managing cash flow, driving the ship forward, and the bookkeeper, the accountant, whoever's doing the books, recording the entries, is a critical part of that, of doing it in a timely manner. They're doing it because they enjoy doing it. They do it correctly, and from what I get to take out of that, the numbers, test different things. We get to experiment. I'll use that word, in showing the business owner certain things, and even teaching the bookkeeper to hopefully do the same thing. I want somebody to replace me. If they can learn how to do this, they can replace me and do a satisfactory job. but the bookkeeper is important in that, and to put in the chart of accounts, categorize things correctly based on the business and the need for cash flow accounting. There's a difference between generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, which is for external reporting, like to investors, lenders, IRS. Cash, and that is not a real good way to manage the business. So helping work with the bookkeeper to help them understand this is cash accounting. It's cash coming in, cash going out, and recording it. And sometimes people actually use two sets of books to have a better, more correct way of managing internally the business.
Right. So a lot of businesses use QuickBooks. I used to use it, and my own experience with QuickBooks was that it's. I mean, you got to know what you're doing to try to get that stupid software to produce cash flow, let alone project it into the future. You know, what's been the answer for that? I mean, I'm talking about the function you provide to potty train the bookkeeper to do the stupid cash flow correctly.
Yeah, that's true. Most of them are trained by the accounting profession that's generally driven by the tax accounting, the tax code. But it takes a little patience, takes a little work, trial and error. In most QuickBooks, you do have a budget or forecasting template, which can be used very simply. It folds from the actual balance sheet and income statement. You also have a cash flow statement. Just like the other day, I asked somebody about it, and they said, "Well, we use QuickBooks. There's no cash flow statement." I said, "Open up your QuickBooks and look down at the bottom, the last one on the list. Oh, it's a cash flow statement." And the cash flow statement is critical to they all go together. If you don't have the balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow statement, and the cash flow statement joins the two together. It shows the activity, where the money went, where the money came from, and that's what you want to know anyway.
So I'm an engineer, so Beverly and I are on two different pages. But what I found intriguing about cash flow was to have the last year in monthly columns on one piece of paper, all plugged in, so you could see, what was happening in every little category, and then have the present month right, in the first third of the sheet, and then project out the next couple of years. Yeah. It usually took an 11 by 17 to do it, but I could have that on one piece of paper and sort of have targets for, the coming months, and know the minute I got my updated cash flow where I was at.
Yeah.
That
was actually one of the first things I did when computers came out. I got my own computer before I got one at my employer, and I would spread it out horizontally for the business owners, and you could look at each month and see in each line item, expense item, what happened. And you can it's still a great tool to use. And if there's something empty in like the rent column or any other column, or it doubled, it's a tip off to ask questions.
Yeah.
And it's an easy way. It's a one pager, easy way to manage it. So Beverly.
So Larry, you've been talking about tools, and John mentioned one tool that a lot of people use. Is there a simple cash flow tool that you recommend for everybody?
Yeah, it's me.
That's the right answer. I understand. Yes, irreplaceable. Good.
The simplest tool is never spend 100% of your money.
Okay.
If you spend 100% of your money, you ought to stop and start all over or quit or something. But technically, if the simplest to me and the best tool in my experience, doing this for a few years, is the cash flow forecast at a high level, not in detail, but at a high level. And most, and you said you're left brain, Beverly, a lot of business owners are very right brained. And my experience has been, don't give them a spreadsheet. I give them like a one pager, simple one pager, couple of lines. Here they are. Here's where they'll be next week. And they can take that and go make it rain. And I'd use colors. And if it's red, they really know what to do. And that's the simple thing, I think, for accounting professionals that are in the advisory business, or people that like myself that advise cash flow. You got to make it simple, and you speak their language. They don't speak accountese. We got to, they're like in France, and I'm going over there for a visit, and I don't speak French. But in order to communicate, I need to learn some French, speak their language, and understand how best to communicate in their language what is necessary, what resonates, what they need. And not everybody's the same. You can't treat everybody the same, in my experience.
So what should people do that need help? I mean, you have this thought that is your accounting profession costing you money? Talk to that.
Well, again, if you're engaging with an accounting professional or you have a bookkeeper, they need to work for you, and they need to structure things within the accounting profession, but primarily based on your particular needs and your particular specific business. And so, again, for years, I always wanted to meet the CPA or the accounting professional to work together to understand our different roles. And they're primarily geared to putting the numbers in the boxes and preparing it simply for tax time. Advisory services, budgeting, forecasting, cash flow management generally is not in their realm. Many of them had been trained that way. So it's up to the owner to take charge. What do they want? What do they need? What would move the needle for them, make life easier for them, and work more? You just don't hand over the baton like in a relay race, giving the next runner the baton. You don't give the baton to the accounting professional. You work together and walk together down this road, and what's needed, what's working, what isn't working. And it's not about, in this particular case, necessarily the tax strategy. It's the strategy of how do we build cash flow. Again, my definition of cash flow is pretty simple. You got a balance today. What's that balance tomorrow, the next week, the next month, the next year? Is it growing? Is it multiplying? We're mandated, Genesis 1:28, to multiply. So are you multiplying your cash flow for the benefit of the kingdom? So
what's your website, Larry? How do people get a hold of you?
It's www.larrytyler.biz, B-I-Z.
Okay. Any closing remarks? Anything we forgot?
I think one of my response to one of Beverly's questions, one of the best tools is, never spend 100% of your money. There's a law called Parkinson's Law. And that law says, and you want to be in a habit of breaking this law, You spend what could bring what comes in, and you can't get anywhere. You can't move forward in your business, and have the ability to grow the business, expand the business, be prepared for situations if you're spending every dollar that comes in. And you need a plan to be able to pay yourself, put money aside, take profit out first, stick it somewhere else so you have some real profit. For years, people came to me and said, I'm showing $50,000 worth of profit. I don't have a dime in my bank account, because that profit is all in inventory and receivables primarily, or equipment. But if you take out some money every month, put it into another bank account and don't touch it, at the end of the year, you'll have something you can put your hands on and you can go do something with it. That's cash. Put aside some real cash is my response to that, and I tell everybody.
So the starting place is look at the website. I'm assuming your phone number's on there, and have a conversation about what you can do for people.
Yes. Calendar link.
Appreciate you very much, Larry,
Yeah.
and what you do.
Well, it's fun to work with some people that cash flow is not a dirty word. that's where John and I came together about 15 years ago. I said, oh, here's this engineer writing this blog, and he's promoting cash flow. I need to get to know this guy. So, thank y'all.
The only way to run a business.
Amen.
Thanks, Larry.
Amen. Yeah, thank you.